Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. My name is Wendy Farthing, and I serve as the Director of Community Integration. I'm with MAC Incorporated, the Maryland Living Well Center of Excellence. If you're joining us now, if you wouldn't mind muting your mic, this meeting is going to be recorded and housed on our website for your access and to various resources. I'm going to go over a few resources and upcoming events before we get started and introduce our guest. This is our Ask the Expert Dementia Lunch and Learn series. We've been running this since January of this year, and we will be continuing this in 2026. So, if you have any comments for some topics that would be of interest to you for next year, we would encourage you to put those ideas in the chat, and we will be sure to address those. Um, Next month in November, the 20th, we will be meeting with Valerie Cotter. She is the Associate Professor, School of Nursing and School of Medicine, and Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences. She's a nurse practitioner, and she is with the Johns Hopkins Memory and Alzheimer's Treatment Center. She is going to be discussing advanced care planning for a person with dementia. So that will be upcoming registration on our website that you can join us for that event. All of our previous recordings are on that website as well. If you scroll down past the registration piece, you can access any topic if you haven't joined us earlier in this year. Other resources that we do have available that I encourage you to visit, and the slide deck will be available on our website as well. There is a calendar of workshops. We have integrated a plugin onto our website that all of our partner agencies across the state, any workshop or series that they're incorporating, whether that would be in person or virtually, you would have access to see what is going on across the state in caregiving, dementia, diabetes, all sorts of evidence-based programs. Or falls prevention programs. I encourage you to check that link out. That's here, and you can access that in the slide deck once this webinar is over. Um, our upcoming workshops, we have our hub workshops that we're doing. We are in a partnership right now with GWEP as well as MDOA to offer a variety of caregiving workshops that I encourage you to look into. We've been doing a new one starting each month. We've been rotating back and forth between building better caregivers and powerful tools for caregivers. Great resources that are there, as well as some other dementia classes that are available. So I encourage you to take a look at those free workshops. Our collaboration is also with the Alzheimer's Association. So I have this slide here for a variety of resources that they offer. If you haven't visited their site, they do also have a new Alzheimer's Journey app that's available for free at the App Store or Google Play. I encourage you to take a look at that resource that is available. In collaboration with the Alzheimer's Association as well as the Maryland Department on Aging, we are going to offer two caregiving webinar series. That one is coming up Tuesday of October the 28th of this month. This was a survey that was put out in 2023 by the Maryland Commission for Caregiving, and all of these topics that were of interest to folks, we are offering some webinar series on those. So, managing money and exploring care and support services. You can attend one or both, or whichever suits your needs. But we have opening spots available for that. There's a QR code here. I will put a link also in the chat that you can take a look at if you haven't signed up already. We do have space available in both of those workshops as well. I'm going to turn this over to Jane Marks. She's a RN and MS. She's our lead GWEP educator, the Division of Geriatric Medicine and Gerontology, and she will introduce our guest.
Welcome, everyone. We're excited to offer again another session to hopefully bring information to you. Um, this session is preparing for the holidays for care partners. Marti Bailey has worked with us in our GWEP over the years. We're excited to bring her with us in her expertise. She's a certified dementia practitioner. And I won't go into all the other initials that she has, but she's worked for many, many years with caregivers of persons with dementia and has a great expertise. And so we thought with the holidays coming up, how can we better prepare for them without creating a lot of stress among us? So I'm going to turn this over to Marti. And again, it's interview kind of questions. So we'll go to the first question. And the next slide. So, what should the caregiver consider in assessing their care pair capacity during the holiday, Marti?
Thank you so much for inviting me here today, Jane, and I'm so glad to be with all of you. One of the most important things a person who is caring for others can do for themselves, especially during the holidays, is to assess their capacity and evaluating the size of your, if you will, energy tank or your capacity for moving this on. So, forgive the imperfect metaphor, but imagine that sometimes we have a gas tank that is 8.7 gallons, and sometimes we have a 28-gallon capacity. And person to person, there are those of us who are introverts and we don't much like being around other people, and our people are the only people we really want to be around. So not only do we all normally have a different size capacity, but in different circumstances, we have different capacities. So often it's linked to whether or not I'm an introvert or an extrovert, but it also could be linked, at least in part, to what's going on for me. Do I have a lot of uncertainty in my life? Do I do I have more stress than my normal caregiving? Like, does my loved one do we, one or the other of us have um, health problems right now? There are so many things that can impact what we would consider our capacity for doing holiday activities. And really, those are some of the things. Your capacity for doing those activities is one of the things you want to evaluate first. And so there's certainly other things that we want to imagine, but another one um, is to think about how we feel in the moment too, because how we feel matters. And we may have planned something, but then we get up to the moment and we find that our capacity is reduced. So those are some things that, be kind to yourself and be kind to the loved one in those moments. So
I don't really need to do it, Joe. It's something about preparing for the holidays with your demented relative.
maybe we can help
And I don't know.
Howard,
I'd,
maybe
I'd, I'd rather help you with, I feel better if I helped you with the boxes.
Could we have everyone mute, please?
By before our 1:30 meeting today.
Are you in that meeting? Are you going to be in that
Hello?
meeting?
Wendy, could you maybe help
Okay.
our friend mute?
Howard,
I'll
could
be,
you
I'll,
mute?
Thank you so much. So that's pretty much it. I'm sorry for the interruption, but we all know what it's like to juggle, right? And Mr. Howard is also juggling right now. So I I thank him for trying to be here. So really, it's how are we juggling? What size is our gas tank right now? And because capacity is variable, sometimes it's going to be one way and sometimes it's going to be the other. So assess your capacity in that moment. And if it
Well,
goes, There we go.
Oh, I'm sorry. So what are some tips for non-negotiable traditions that caregivers should consider in their holiday planning? Like, things that they've done yearly that they just don't want to give up and, moving forward. What are some things we could help them with or help us with?
So the first thing I want to take issue with maybe is the idea of having something that is non-negotiable. And a lot of times we feel like things are non-negotiable, but when we really get down to it, there's not much that isn't negotiable, because sometimes we can rework an event that matters to us deeply, but we can rework it to make it so that it is doable. So also, if you have some, there are there's a difference too between my non-negotiable and someone else's non-negotiable. Anybody relate to that? Sometimes I may say, I absolutely will put up a tree this year. And that's something that I deeply want to do. But maybe instead of putting up an 8-foot tree, I decide to uh, to decorate a peace plant, a peace lily that's in my house instead. So that we can emotionally renegotiate even internally, but also kind of work with other people's non-negotiables. So, for example, there might be a non-negotiable that my mother has, and she expects all of her children to be there from the moment that an event starts all the way to the end. And I just want to invite you to think about other people's non-negotiables, to kind of in your mind convert those to contracts that may need to be renegotiated. For example, if my loved one, if my loved one, my mother, for example, wants me to be there from the beginning to the end, but my loved one really doesn't do well with like many hours of stimulation, then I may need to renegotiate that non-negotiable with my mom and say, hey, we can do, and this is a matter of having good boundaries, we can do we do pretty well with about 3 hours, Mom. Which 3 hours would be best for us to be there? Which would be the most important to you if we could plan for 3 hours? So we also could sometimes reduce the size or the location. A lot of people with cognitive changes have, in particular, may be overstimulated by very noisy venues. So there are some good things that you might be able to do to reduce the noise and reduce the stimulation. For example, if we have um, 15 children and holiday music and everything else all combined, it may be a bit overstimulating for a loved one, no matter what kind of loved one we might have, what kind of issues they might have. But if we can maybe reduce the size of the event and say, okay, we would love to get together with you, Mom. How about we have a smaller event and have it be adult only, just for this particular time, because the overstimulation is very difficult for George or whomever your loved one is. And then, different holidays may have different non-negotiables. So Thanksgiving may be less of a problem for your family non-negotiables, for example, than the December holidays, like Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, whatever, or any other holidays you might celebrate. And so it might be easier to say, um, I'm happy to do Thanksgiving this year, with X number of people, but really the December holidays, we're have to scale back. So those are just some things that you want to think about in terms of your non-negotiables. But the most important thing to remember is nothing is non-negotiable, especially when you're a care partner. It's all negotiable.
And I think you bring up a good point, Marty, in this presentation, in this slide, particularly about boundaries and maybe sometimes limiting size or times. And I think too, knowing your loved one's routine and how you can fit that schedule into their routine without being so disruptive. And oftentimes I think some holiday dinners are later in the day, which may not necessarily be a great time for your loved one. And therefore, maybe looking at how you could renegotiate that too as well, so that routine isn't so disruptive, but yet still participate, I think is so important to look at. And I will tell you from my own experience, giving up some of those cooking things, maybe get the turkey already done or have everyone participate in bringing things. It may be a little bit different.
Thanks, Jane. Absolutely right.
Okay, well, let's go to the next one. Would you just discuss some pacing strategies that caregivers should consider during this busy holiday season? We may have hit upon some, but could you talk a little bit more about that to help us?
Yes, Jane, you actually mentioned one of the most important, which is, respecting the person you're caring for, your person's routine. I would also say that it's dependent on sort of like where the person is. Are they currently healthy? Or what stage of an illness are they in? For example, if somebody is wheelchair bound or bed bound, that would certainly uh, give you a different type of pacing. And then also the number of participants. So I did mention that a little bit earlier. For example, if you normally have a full complement of family members at an event, maybe saying, let's get together, but really 12 is our limit because the noise. You know as well as I do that when we're all together, the more people, the more voices, and the more noise. And so reducing the number of people, or also this may sound, there are some of us that have blended families, for example, and we go to this this person's house, and then we go to that person's house, and then we go to the other person's house. So part of pacing is saying, gosh, we only are able to do this one event. And hey, family from our blended family, we would love it if you could all come to our house on this date and stay for this period of time. If you are going to someone else's home, it is so great to ask them if there's some place in the home where there would be space to get away from all the activity. If you've got someone that is, for example, um, coping with cancer treatment, or you have someone who's living with cognitive changes. Um, there can be a lot of in any illness, there can be so much fatigue, and it can be stressful to be around a lot of people, even if they're people. But having a space where someone can say, I just need a moment, or maybe you need the moment. Can we just be honest that sometimes we're the people that are caring, but sometimes we need a moment. So with helping our loved one withdraw, even if it's us that needs it, um, we can withdraw and go to that place that's made, let's say a spare bedroom or something. A spare bedroom is usually a great place to go because if you're the person you're caring for is fatigued or just need a moment to rest for a few minutes. In my family, we call it getting horizontal. So sometimes you just need to get horizontal for a few minutes and being quiet. And so those are some really useful tools. Reduce the number of events, reduce the number of people at the events, make sure you have space for quiet or a quick rest. Even if it's 15, 20 minutes just to get away for a little bit. And you'll know when that is. You'll know when that is because your shoulders, you can watch your physiology, your own physiology, or the physiology of the loved one. Our shoulders may go up. We may, like all of a sudden, we're feeling more tense, but it could be that the other person has the opposite, and their shoulders may kind of slump down, and we might see them sort of folding over almost on themselves. So watch for your own stress building and their kind of slumping over as signals that that's the time to pull away and say we need a little bit of space here. And so and it's sometimes very emotionally taxing for us to request those boundary moments. It can be very stressful for us to do that. I will tell you that practice makes perfect. The more you practice the request for a little bit of space or a little bit of quiet, the easier it gets to be able to be engaged with family and friends. Hopefully that's helpful.
Thank you, Marty. Our next question is if we have to travel, if that's involved during the holiday, what are some strategies or tips that caregivers could utilize to help smooth the way? Because sometimes traveling can be, quite burdensome or hectic during this busy time.
That's right. It really can be. You're already maybe feeling some stress about having to get your person to the holiday events. So adding travel can add a lot of ambiguity. So uncertainty. And so one of the things that reduces ambiguity is a direct flight. For example, if you're going to fly somewhere, do everything you can to get a direct flight because the ambiguity that comes from a possible connection change. You're in Terminal A, and the next thing you know, your flight has been changed to Terminal E, and you've got to figure out now how to get your person and you, and sometimes even bags, if you are doing carry-ons. That's the other thing. If you can check bags, sometimes that has a good news, bad news situation. Checking the bags means you don't have to worry about it if once you check it in. The bad news is that you don't have it with you and you have to stay longer while you're waiting for the bags to be unloaded at the end of the trip. So those are just a few tips. Also, if you're traveling by car, shorter travel with frequent stops is important. If your loved one has incontinence issues, you'll want to stop at least every 2 hours to help the person get to the restroom. About that, look for family restrooms. Many places, many rest stops have family restrooms. A lot of big truck stops have family restrooms. And so, but also don't be afraid to take an opposite sex partner into if I'm caring for a man and I'm a female, then I would not hesitate to take my loved one into a restroom, and I would just say, hey, my person needs help, and if anybody says anything to you. I have done it, and people are generally pretty kind about bringing somebody that needs assistance. I've seen it happen on both sides where a gentleman comes in to bring his wife that has got cognitive changes or has got need to be in uh, a a handicap stall, and they will come in and use that handicap stall. And so it's really useful. Also, if you're traveling in any case, I want to encourage the use of noise canceling headphones. If you have a person that has cognitive changes, noise canceling headphones can be really useful because it helps reduce some of the auditory stimulation that can be very distressing to somebody with cognitive changes. But it also is useful for somebody who has had surgery or who is undergoing chemo, either an infusion of chemo or has got daily chemo tablets that they take. Noise canceling or music in earpods are super helpful to sort of uh, keep things from being overwhelming. Um, Another thing to reduce ambiguity is to this is something that when you're under a lot of stress, this may feel like it goes without saying, but I think it's important. When you're driving, please fill up your vehicle frequently. There is nothing that's worse than falling, than running out of gas when you are care partnering for somebody. And we've got a lot on our plates. And so it can be very difficult. You're helping the person get out of the car, you're helping the person use their walker or use a wheelchair or whatever it is, and you've got a lot on your plate. So my personal strategy when I'm driving is to fill up often because I know that under the best circumstances, I get distracted and sometimes don't fill up on time, and then I'm worried about it. So it's can be very helpful to fill up more often. Does anybody have any questions about? I would love to entertain your questions about preparing for the holidays. Does anybody have anything?
I'm going to interject while people are thinking. So something that came to my mind, that if you're going to someone's house, consider what stage illness your person is in. Because remember, you're going to have to navigate getting into the home. And is that going to be difficult or not? Or are there people there that will be able to help you? And then once you're in the home, is the ability to navigate inside, you know, conducive to the ability that your loved one is at? Especially the restroom. Is there a restroom on that same level, or is there stairs to maneuver? So understanding, I think, and remembering those things so that you're not like getting there and then thinking, oh no, I never thought about this, so that you do consider the environment in which, if you're visiting a family member, and your person's ability to maneuver the environment is important. As well as I'm thinking of our holiday meals, how the plates get full of food. And sometimes in our stages, in a person who has dementia, that may be overwhelming. So thinking about what you normally do at home, that you would do also, not having someone fill their plate up with a ton of food and then be overwhelmed, not knowing which way to turn. So that was something that came to my mind.
That's a great point, Jane. And I would, for those of you who may go to someone else's home, I'm just going to give you a measurement that is really useful. If you know you're going to go in ahead of time, you want to make sure that the doorways in most cases are 36 to 42 inches to make sure that the person can get like a transfer chair or a walker through the doors. I mean, a person can be helped sometimes to get through with something less, but in general, if you can have the main look at me, I'm talking with my hands. Use a measure like a tape measure or something to just have them measure those doors. That can be so useful. So thanks. That's a great point, Shane.
Has anyone else have any thoughts or suggestions that they have found helpful? Maybe you could educate us on some tips. Quiet group.
And you can unmute yourselves if you'd like to respond to the questions.
So let's talk through a couple more things that just come to mind, and since you don't have extra questions, and one of those things is that you can also request help from an airline. If you have a loved one that has had a reduction in energy, even though under normal circumstances um, they would be able to, walk an airport, maybe arranging, there's a place you can check um, on an airline uh, reservation. Sorry, I lost my word for a moment. An airline reservation that says I need additional help or you're asking for wheelchair access. If you know it's a big airport and your loved one might be distressed or be overtired from walking the whole airport. It's okay if they would just that would make them overtired because you're coming into a holiday experience. So asking for help, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. Often they will even provide someone that will push the wheelchair and so that you can manage whatever other things you have, like the person's bag or whatever other things that you're doing. So that can be really useful too. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Some of us are not very good at that and we struggle with it. I'll raise my hand. In the past, I've been um, pretty reluctant to ask for help, but over the last few years, I've recognized that I don't have to be in this alone. I can get additional support. And a lot of these places that you'll be can help provide additional support. If there are some events that you plan to attend or maybe you're going where there is um, you're going to some event at the aquarium or whatever, you can call the aquarium in advance and see if they have, I'm using that as an example, see if they have chairs on site so you can use, or you can also in advance arrange for a chair to be rented or leased at the place where you're going so you don't have to transport a chair with you. You can pick something up there. So I think somebody just offered another idea. You can ask for early seating. That is perfect. Early seating if your person is disabled with dementia, and you can ask for seating together without being charged. Thank you so much. That is a great idea. And in all of those cases, you can ask for early seating if because you and your person need assistance getting seated on the plane before. Wendy has something too.
I
Wendy's
just shared of the someone had requested that the links that I shared in the PowerPoint be put in the chat. So there's various workshops that we offer from a statewide capacity, as well as there are agencies that offer them in person locally in various counties. So we have two we have the Building Better Caregivers as well as the Powerful Tools for Caregivers. So I put a brief description of each of those workshops. They are 6-week workshops. The Building Better Caregivers is a 2.5-hour class meeting once a week for 6 consecutive weeks, and there's a variety of wonderful topics that are covered in a safe and welcoming community with others that are in similar situations, as well as Powerful Tools for Caregivers, which is also a 6-week workshop. And that one is a 90-minute workshop. So I did put the link to check that out. If the classes are full right now, we do have wait lists and we have rotating classes back and forth. So if you haven't checked them out, I encourage you to do so.
Wendy, how much time do we have?
We are at 10 minutes to the hour.
All right. So, with everybody's permission, since we've talked about some of these things, I'd like to talk a little bit about caring for yourself, taking care of yourself and practicing self-care during the holidays. And I know that many of you probably have done lots of breathing exercises over the course and probably just regularly do deep breathing to get through your caregiving opportunities. But I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind just right now to take a few minutes, because we have a few minutes to care for yourself by doing some relaxation and breathing. So if you wouldn't mind at the moment, just putting your feet flat on the floor and getting yourself comfortable. Often, if you lay your hands palm up on it can be very relaxing to lay your hands palm up and sit up, if you will, kind of straighten your body, relax your shoulders, and just pay attention to your breath for a minute. You don't have to change your breathing in any way. Just pay attention to your breath. Feel your breath going in through your nose. Notice how it's touching your nostrils, or if you breathe through your mouth, notice the feeling of it, the air going over your lips. Just notice your breathing and notice that when you breathe out, that the breath is almost humid. It feels warm. It's changed because your body is processing it. You're just paying attention to your breathing. And if you're comfortable with it right now, if you just close your eyes, just a soft close, not anything that's tight. We're going to really just take a moment to start at our feet and just relax our feet, being grateful that these are feet that help us do the tasks of caregiving. And they take so much for us by holding our weight, and often our care person's weight, often just getting so tired. So we just offer them the opportunity in this moment to relax. And we relax and release any tension in our ankles and lower legs, continuing to breathe, just physically releasing any tension that we're carrying in our lower legs, our calves, our shins, our ankles, and our knees. Our knees can sometimes take a lot of the brunt of carrying, so we try to relax them. Let them, for this moment, be at peace. Just relaxing those knees. Coming up, our thighs. Thighs bear a lot of weight for us, not only for us, but for our loved one. We release any tension in that area, whether it's your quadriceps, your hamstrings, whatever your IT band, whatever that is that you're carrying stress in, just release that. Let all the stress flow out. Coming up to our pelvic area and our buttocks. Most of us know that a lot of the strength of walking and movement happens there, and a lot of people carry stress in their rear end. And so today we just let that go. And let it go. We continue to pay attention to our breath as well. Just letting our breath just sigh it out. We're coming up our back. Our lower back pays a lot of the price of care partnering. So we just release that lower back. Release your middle back. Release your shoulders. So often we find our shoulders get stressed, and we'll notice that our shoulders are all the way up practically to our ears. And so we just change our physiology. We release those shoulders and all the tension that remains there. We just release it now. And in our arms, oh, those arms do so much work. And the hands, these are the arms that hold, that comfort, that might change messy or wet products, incontinence products. They're the hands that write checks to pay the bills. They're the hands that soothe, to wash dishes and do laundry. And just for this moment, let them be completely relaxed. In this moment, we release any stress in those arms that do so much loving work, so much kindness. Just release that. And now we go up our neck. And even as we finish up here, we turn our head gently to the right, using our neck, and gently now to the center, and then to the left. We just release that neck tension. We also reduce and release the tension in our jaws. Let your mouth fall open. We hold so much tension in our jaws. We don't even realize it. So much tension. And it can sometimes give us headaches. We're holding so much tension there. So just sometimes let your jaw just fall open. Just let it rest. And now we take a deep breath in through our nose and out through our mouth. Again, in through your nose and out through your mouth. And when you are ready, please open your eyes.
Wow, Marty, thank you so much.
I
Was not
hope,
expecting that joy.
I hope everybody can walk in that relaxation today. And please notice your own physiology as a care partner when you are in the midst of your work. Sometimes just being aware of your own physiology, releasing your shoulders, releasing your jaw. It's helpful. So just be aware of yourself too as you do this care partnering, this beautiful, loving care partnering you're doing. Don't forget to lovingly care for yourself.
Thank you, Marty, so much.
Thank you. I want to remind folks before we sign off, we have a couple other resources and webinars that are available. Coming up October the 28th at 1, we have Managing Money, a Caregiver's Guide to Finances. We also have November the 14th, Exploring Care and Support Services. That's also at 1 o'clock. That's in a collaboration with the Alzheimer's Association. And then our next Ask the Expert topic, it will be held on November the 20th at 12:15 for advanced care planning for some person with dementia. So we hope you can join us. We hope you enjoyed your time with us today. Thank you again, Marty. This webinar will be housed on our website so that you have access to it as well as the other resources. And we hope you are able to visit our website for those resources and exploring your journey in caregiving. And thanks again, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Marty.
My pleasure.